And we are back with what is today an incredibly serious video. The Premier League returns in just 2 days' time, so it is time to rebuild our fantasy football teams. However, off the back of what was an incredibly successful World Cup campaign for me, I finished in the top 10,000 overall. I would have won my actual league if I didn't, not do the final week for whatever reason. So congratulations to Manish for winning the World Cup League. However, in the Fantasy Premier League, I sit 181 points behind the top of the league in my own league, which, quite frankly, is embarrassing and not good enough. And the comeback begins today with this new team. Now, for those of you that normally watch the Best of series and the players I think you need for this game week, that team has still been made and is available for you on screen now. That is the team that I'm going with for my Best of Game Week 17 team, so have a good look at it. Some of these players will feature in my team this week, and of course, as always, if you think your team can beat that Best of Game Week team, as always, please join the SO99 League to test out what you've got, and as always, winning managers will be shouted out in next week's video as we go back to normal. However, this is about my team, this is about my new team that I have built for the remainder of this season. Will probably be inevitably changed in a couple of weeks when the wild card for January comes in, but this is going to be my chance to mount a comeback, and here is what it looks like. So, we'll start off with the two goalkeepers, and we're going to go for Alisson and Danny Ward. Now, obviously, Danny Ward I've had all year and has done very well for Leicester, but Alisson is the first of my big gambles. Now, I really like the look of Liverpool's fixtures, and I do think this opening one is probably their toughest that they've got for the next few weeks. So there is the obvious chance that they could concede this week. But I'm backing Alisson for the next few weeks as Liverpool have a lot of good fixtures coming up. And that is my justification for going for him. And like I say, Danny Ward, still very cheap. Leicester have some good fixtures as well. So you never know, he might pick up some points as well. Into the defence, and we start off with Luke Shaw. Now, it would be Diogo Dalot if it wasn't for his slight hamstring injury. Luke Shaw, though, of course, had a fantastic World Cup. He's going to be playing for Manchester United, I think, a lot in the second half of this season. He also is going to be taking half of the corners and a lot of the set pieces as our only natural left footer in the starting lineup. So, plenty of opportunities for Luke Shaw to pick up points in the second half of this season. Next to him, we are going to go for João Cancelo. As we all know, the second highest point scorer from defenders so far this season. He still plays every single game for Man City. He's always a threat going either way. So he is an obvious choice to have in the squad. And finally, in our starting defence, we have the returning from injury, Reece James. And looking at the amount of people that have picked him, I think it's a great opportunity to put Reece James in. I know a fair few of you aren't confident enough to put him in your teams just yet. But from what I've seen, Reece James is going to be fit for this fixture against Bournemouth. Chelsea also have a good run of fixtures coming up. So I think Reece James is an absolute no-brainer to have back in the team. And for the remaining two players in the defence, we have Kieran Trippier, the top point scorer so far. From defenders, tough fixture away against Leicester in their opener, but Newcastle still have some fairly nice fixtures coming up. And finally, we have Callum Paterson returning for Everton, who have, again, a fair few good fixtures coming up, and at 4 million looks like an absolute bargain, and he will definitely be playing now that he is fit once again. You've seen I've gone for a 5-man midfield for this game week, but I think all of these midfielders are justified for any game week coming up right now, and we're going to start with Miguel Almiron. Again, the top point scorer from midfielders so far this season. He's done absolutely unbelievably. It is a gamble, but at only like 5.6 million, he is worth having another go on. You just don't really know what's going to happen. This is the first time he's ever really done anything in the Premier League, and St. Maximan is fit again now as well, so how they're going to incorporate all of their players in Newcastle is going to be interesting, but for now, Almiron gets the chance to show what he's got, and hopefully he will continue to do well. Next to him, we have gone for Wilfried Zaha. Their first two games back, Crystal Palace, are games that I expect Zaha to do very well in. I know there's a lot of transfer speculation around him again, but he is going to have at least this fixture before the transfer window opens. So an opportunity for him to get some good points, so he is in my squad. Next to him, we have gone for Gabriel Martinelli. Now, there are a lot of rumours around Arsenal at the moment that Martinelli is actually going to be the player that goes up front, with Nketiah staying on the bench and Smith Rowe moving into that left wing position. So Martinelli is well worth the risk. He's still the cheapest Arsenal midfielder outside of Granit Xhaka that actually starts every game. And obviously, if he is going to play up front, he is a no-brainer to have as well. Next to him is my big gamble. The man that carried me to the top of the league in the World Cup fantasy football. Almost a forgotten man of Premier League fantasy football over the last couple of seasons. And that is going to be Bruno Fernandes, who I think is going to absolutely smash it in the second half of this season. He is the person I'm pinning all my hopes and dreams on as a Manchester United fan as well. I'm hoping he can help carry us to a top 4 finish and a Europa League trophy. And yeah, I just think this is going to be his time. I think the way he played at the World Cup, the way he looked against Burnley the other night, he's obviously going to be back on free kicks and penalties now that Ronaldo's left the club. So I think Bruno Fernandes is going to be a massive player in the second half of this season. And I'm going to take the humongous gamble of picking him for my fantasy football for the second half of this season. And next to him, we have my third Manchester United player. It is huge gambling out here. We're going to go for Marcus Rashford, which I know a fair few of you already have, and rightfully so. Rashford's on absolute fire right now, and I expect him to continue doing that. But like I say, I'm pinning my hopes on Bruno and hoping Rashford can then pick up the pieces. As for the two strikers, we're going to start with another massive gamble, and that is going to be Darwin Núñez. I know a lot of you have gone back to Mohamed Salah, and again, fair enough for doing that. It's almost the start of a new season, so why not go for Salah again? But from what I saw of Darwin Núñez against Manchester City, yes, he missed 3 absolute glaring sitters. However, he got 3 glaring opportunities against Manchester City, and if he can keep getting in those sort of attacking positions, you best believe he's going to score some goals this season. So I think it is safer and potentially even more point beneficial to go for Núñez and Fernandes than maybe Mohamed Salah and a cheaper forward. And of course, we have to still have Erling Haaland. I know I'm taking gambles, but at the same time, I can't afford to have everyone above me get loads of Haaland points while I sit there getting no Haaland points. And I've still gone for him as captain because I think the vast majority of people are still going to go for Haaland as captain. And yes, it'd be nice to gamble on going for Bruno as captain and then Haaland does nothing. But it's still safer to have Haaland as captain. So whatever he does, I get the same as everyone else. And then I rely on the rest of my team to carry me up the league. And finally, my last striker is going to be Dominic Solanke. It wasn't originally Kiefer Moore, which I almost just said. But I managed to scrounge around a few extra funds to get Dom Solanke in there. Just went for a striker that's cheap and scores goals. There are other ones available, but I just have a little feeling on Dom Solanke. I do like him as a player, and I expect him to score some goals for Bournemouth in the second half of this season. Just maybe not away against Chelsea, which is why he is my final sub. And that is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you very much for watching as always, and drop a like if you did enjoy it. Fingers crossed this team is going to start making its way up the table for me. And like I say, as always, the best of team was at the start of the video if you wanted to check that as well. If you wanted to get some more advice on who I think you should be going for this week. And take the challenge as well. Join the SO99 League. We're going to be back to our usual process of wrapping up how that week went, then building a new team each week, starting from the new year fixtures. Thank you very much for watching once again. I'll see you for the return of Premier League predictions Boxing Day morning.